Hey guys, and welcome back to I'm a Celeb recap. And today we're going to be talking through the launch show. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the different trials that they did, as well as different personalities that we met. But it's a very, very interesting start to the series, especially because it launched with the lowest viewing figures ever, which is pretty crazy. It's down apparently 2.2 million on last year, which is absolutely wild. I think it's very obvious why that's been that they've lost all those viewers, but I guess only time will tell whether they can recoup all of those lost viewers. It's definitely not the same as Big Brother. I'm definitely missing Big Brother, and I'm a Celeb is not quite filling that hole just yet, but I don't know. It looks like it could be quite interesting. There are some very, very interesting celebrities on the show that I am excited to watch, and there are some that I am not so excited to watch. So I guess let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so the first group of celebrities were basically just stranded in the desert. They were driven into the middle of the outback and they were just left there, which was a little bit crazy. They've never really done anything like this before. And I actually thought it was quite interesting how they structured the opening episode, because usually they get people in and they shove them in a canoe, or they make them skydive, and they make them just do little things that introduce them to the jungle. But this opening episode made all of them kind of work together in order to get the stars, which is something that I don't think they've done in a very, very long time. Like it becomes quite formulaic. I'm a Celeb, and I felt like they really broke that mold with this opening episode, sort of splitting them into three distinct groups and making them do very, very different things in order to get food for the camp. The first group was, like I said, stranded in the desert. They were literally driven out into the middle of the outback and dropped off. That was it. The first celebrity was Josie Gibson, the second one was Nigel Farage, and the last one was Nella Rose. Very interesting trio, if you ask me. That is not a trio that I would have picked from the lineup to be the first group, but very, very interesting personalities. You've got Josie, who is hilarious on This Morning. You've got Nigel Farage, who is a politician and controversial. And then you've got Nella Rose, who is a YouTuber, but as well as that, a presenter and like loads of other different things as well. I didn't realize that she was a presenter before I started reading up on her. But apparently she did Catfished a couple of years ago or something along those lines. I'm not entirely sure. But this trio was mildly entertaining, I gotta say. Yeah, it was difficult because you could tell that they were all really sort of like, oh, hi to Nigel, and they didn't really know what to say. Josie cracked a joke about Brexit to kind of sort of, I don't know, ease the tension. I don't know. It was an odd joke, but it did make me chuckle. He was basically like, oh, this is gonna be hard, and she was like, well, not as hard as Brexit. um but yeah, so essentially their group had to get in a car and drive to like a destination. First of all, I don't know who let Nigel Farage drive, and second of all, is he able to drive in Australia? Is that like, did they have to like get him cleared to do that, or are they kind of just doing this illegally? I'm assuming they're not doing this illegally, right? That surely not, right? So anyway, they get to their first destination, and it is, I think it was like an RV almost, and then some barrels. And I noticed that they played the Breaking Bad theme, or the first few notes of the Breaking Bad theme song, as they like sort of arrived, which was quite a nice nod. And they had to essentially, someone had to take the barrels. There were three barrels that they had to like stick their hands and head in and undo the knots to get tokens out. And the tokens equivalated time for the other celebrities doing their trials. So whilst Josie was sticking her head in some dunk barrels, Nella and Nigel had to stick their heads into like those hell holes, and they had snakes in them. So obviously Nella Rose was getting very, very sort of antsy about that. She was not happy. She was screaming. She was shouting. It was highly entertaining. I was very entertained. But Nigel just got on with it. He kind of licked them all, like licked all the tokens, and then was moving them along. I think Nella wasn't paying attention because she managed to get one off, but then she was trying to still unscrew it once it was on the bit where you just have to push it along with your tongue. And it also looked like she just couldn't get the angle and the sort of tongue length in order to move it along. So she ended up getting no time tokens. Faraj got all three, and so did Josie. So they ended up with 6 minutes for the first trial. The second group of celebrities that entered the jungle didn't enter the jungle straight away either. They went to the dreaded top of a skyscraper to hang over the edge of a building, and I gotta say they chose some very good celebrities for this. They chose Sam Thompson, Danielle Harold, Fred from First Dates. He did say his surname, and I've completely forgotten how you say it already. It was only last night. And Grace, I want to say her surname is Dent. Very interesting sort of group of four. Sam, bless him, is just so happy to be around celebrities. I think he doesn't really see himself as a celebrity, and so when he sees other famous people, he's like, oh my god, this is crazy. Oh my god, like I'm such a big fan, and it's very endearing, I gotta say. So yeah, he did that with Grace and Fred. And then they were told, oh yeah, you're going to have to hang over the edge of a building. But it's not like you have to just walk out. No. Oh my god, I think this is the worst one they've ever done. You had to climb down some scaffolding. You had to like shimmy your way along, climb down some more scaffolding, shimmy back across, sit on a pole and shimmy your way along whilst unscrewing like I don't know, they like bicycle locks? I don't know what they're called. Like unscrew some sort of like push locks and then feed your star all the way to the end of the pole. And oh my goodness, I was watching, I was like, this is terrifying. Like I'm not scared of heights, but like I do get quite dizzy when I'm up high and it starts to make my head go a bit funny. I think is that called vertigo? I don't know. But I was looking at this and I was like, oh, I would not have fared well with this. I think I would have done it, but like I would have been shitting myself doing it. The first group that went up was Fred and Danielle, and they were told that because the other group, Josie's group, had won them 6 minutes, they had 3 minutes to do the task because obviously the 6 minutes had to be shared. And that proved to be just about enough time. The time only started when they got onto the pole. Fortunately, not all the climbing down. But they managed to do it. Danielle got down there quite quickly. But then was struggling to undo the locks and just got her star in time. And same with Fred. Fred took a while getting down there, but then was quite good at getting it along the star to the end. So the first group actually did quite well. I was very, very impressed with Fred and Danielle. And then the next group, you had Sam and Grace. And I was really expecting Grace to freak out, but no, she went into a zone and she did that task. Honestly, it was incredible to watch because she was just so focused and so sort of on it. And she got down there without even uttering a word. And then she managed to get her star to the end with so much time to spare. Sam took a little bit longer to get down. He was sort of freaking out a little bit, but then once he was on the pole, he got his star to the end quicker than Grace, which actually surprised me. He did incredibly well as well. So out of the first 4 possible stars they could have got, they got all 4. So I gotta say, 6 minutes was definitely enough time. And yeah, this was an interesting group of 4 celebrities. I gotta say, I'm very excited to see how they handle jungle life. Let's head back to the car crew now, and they had to drive to another location, and this time it was a broken down pickup truck, and they were told that there were 6 tokens in the back and 3 in the front, or something like that. So of course Nella and Faraj got into the back, and they started feeling around in the gunk for some time tokens. Josie tackled the front, and she opened the bonnet, and there was a snake in there, and oh yeah, I'm not even that scared of snakes, but like when they start freaking out, I start freaking out because I'm like, oh, that is weird. But yeah, so they did quite well in this challenge. I thought they managed to get out of a possible 9, 7. So Nella got 3, Faraj got 2, Josie got 2. So they gave 7 minutes to the final group of people who we will talk about in a second. And I gotta say, I thought that this was actually a very interesting way of framing the first episode. Like I said, usually it's a case of we're going to put you through trials that don't really mean anything, and then the game starts once you're in the jungle. But this time it was like everything that you do matters. And because we had 3 groups of people in distinct locations, one on a skyscraper, one in the middle of the outback, one in the jungle, that was sort of, it was nice to see those 3 distinct locations as well. So the last group of people were Marvin Humes from GLS, Nick Pickard from Hollyoaks, and Jamie Lynn Spears, best known for being Britney Spears' sister. And I gotta say, this was a very interesting trio. Yeah, it was alright. That's really all I've got to say. They were told straight away, you're going to be skydiving, and Marvin looked like he wanted to shit himself. Like, I've never seen a man lose all the colour in his face before and not regain it until he touched the ground, basically. I gotta say, I think everyone handled the skydiving actually quite well. No one was freaking out or complaining, and it was kind of just like the people who were scared were kind of suffering in silence and just kind of focusing on the task at hand, because that's all they really could do at this point. So yeah, it was a very, very interesting introduction to the jungle. It was nice that we got all the elements of a usual I'm a Celeb episode, but then we also got the first trial of the series as well, which I wasn't expecting. They threw that group of 3 straight into the first trial, and it was called the Temple of Doom. I gotta say, it did confuse me at first when they explained it, and I wasn't really clear on how it worked. But essentially, 2 people, it turned out to be Marvin and Jamie Lynn, were strapped into a, like, not strapped into a box, but they were in a box, and they had to, they were like dials on the side with letters, and they had to move the dials in order to spell out words of things you would find in the jungle. So examples like tree, wood, fire, rice, things like that. And then once they did that, Nick, who was strapped to like a, I don't know, like a circular disc underneath a spider, like a massive spider, not a real spider, like a fake spider, stars would drop down as well as bugs, and he'd have to catch the star in his mouth, or he'd have to like maneuver his mouth so that he could like bite the star and pull it off. I was thoroughly entertained. I gotta say, this actually was quite a good trial. It was very, very interesting to see. Jamie Lynn did not know what she was getting herself in for, and it was quite fun to see her in some discomfort. Marvin kind of took it on the chin and was dealing with it quite well, as was Nick, and they kind of got through the task. And I got to say, they got all 6 stars by the end of it, and it was a thoroughly entertaining trial. I did feel like the 7 minutes didn't really matter, because it felt like it was taking a lot longer than 7 minutes, but maybe that was just the edit that they gave it. It was quite a quick edit, I thought, and it made it seem like it was longer, but maybe it was just actually that short. But either way, another interesting trio to the jungle. That's all 10 of our celebrities, and they managed to win all 10 stars before they'd even made it into camp. So everyone made it into camp, and I've just got a couple of things I'm going to rattle through because I thought they were quite interesting. Danielle was quite surprised to see Jamie Lynn in the jungle, purely because she used to watch Zoe 101 as a kid and sort of grew up with her on TV. I was also shocked to find out that Jamie Lynn is 32. That was a bit crazy. She looks a bit older than that. And I also thought that it was weird how, okay, so there was a conversation later on with Jamie Lynn and Josie where Josie was basically going, do you know any of these people? And Jamie Lynn was like, no, I don't. And so Josie was like explaining them to her, and Jamie Lynn was like yawning through the conversation. It was a little bit disrespectful, and it like Josie was doing her best to explain, and it did just feel like Jamie Lynn was being quite dismissive. I don't know whether that was intentional or whatever, but it did rub me up the wrong way a little bit. She was also asked about her influences in music, and you could see that Josie was really desperately trying to get her to say like Britney's name, and and Jamie Lynn was like, "Oh yeah, no, my mum used to play piano a lot, and like, yeah, that's really where it came from." And I was sitting there wanting to call bullshit on her because I was like, "That's rubbish, and you know it, absolute rubbish." I don't know why he was doing this, but Fred was looking around the camp for a grill, and presumably to cook stuff on, but there is no grill. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. And Grace was watching him do it, and she was like, I don't have the heart to tell him. I don't have the heart to tell him that there is no grill, and that like this is not going to be a luxury experience. And I got to say, he did quite well with the food later on. He kind of took charge. It was like kangaroo rump, which I got to be honest is not the worst it could have been. It could have been eel or something. But like I would eat kangaroo rump, and the meal that they cooked looked quite appetizing, and I feel like if I was in the jungle and I was hungry, I would eat it without even questioning it. So yeah, I gotta say it does pay to have someone like Fred in the camp, because he knows his way around a kitchen, he knows what he's doing, and he's happy to cook. I think, as far as I'm aware, like he took charge straight away. The only thing I will say is that he needs to be careful about chucking food on the floor, because there's going to end up being rats in camp, and like different vermin and horrible things that are going to want to eat that food that he's just chucked on the floor. Like he kept on, like I think he was chopping up yams or like potatoes or something, and then he would just chuck the ends on the floor. So like I think he needs to be careful of that. But other than that, I was pretty impressed with him, I gotta say. So to end off the episode, we are going to talk about the next trial briefly and who's going to be facing it. It's called the Jungle Pizzeria, and Ant and Dec came into camp as usual, and they did the whole it's not you, it might be you, and it has gotten to the point where like I can clock who it's going to be based on when they say them, where they say them in the order, and where they put them on screen as well. So it was very, very clear that it was going to be both of them, because I think they made it clear that it was going to be two people when they previewed the trial, and it turned out that Nella Rose and Nigel Farage are going to do the trials. Right, this is my problem with this. I'm happy for Nigel to do the eating trial, because yes, I do want to see him to eat horrible things. I think Nella Rose is hilarious to do trials. Yes, tick tick tick. However, stop voting for Nigel Farage, because it's giving him screen time. Okay, there are more interesting people in the jungle that I'd rather see do trials. I'd love to see Josie do some trials. I'd love to see Danielle Harold do some trials. I'd love to see Sam Thompson do some trials. Do you know what I mean? So like, can we please not give him more airtime than he needs? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's contractually obligated to be in the episodes. So like, let's not force him to have more screen time. Come on, people, be smart. But yeah, thank you guys very, very much for watching. I will see you guys later, and keep watching I'm a Celeb if you want, or you can watch these videos as your way of catching up with the series. As long as you like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, I will keep making these videos, and I will keep you guys updated. So thank you guys very, very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye now.